everybody, thanks for joining us here for the Livestock Market Report. I'm Coulter Brown from the Northern Ag Network. Well, this fall has been on an impressive run already for the cattle market. Really, October bucked the seasonal trends and we saw prices steady to higher for the calves, fat cattle moving higher, and the future showing a surprising amount of strength when really we'd expect it to be lower this time of year. Now, volatility is still present in the market, but as we look forward, cow-calf producers are in the driver's seat and really holding the leverage in the market. We're going to dive into what the cattle market did in October, but first, I want to thank the headline sponsor of our report, Red Summit Advisors. The deadline to enroll for pasture, rangeland, and forage insurance is coming up on December 1st, so time to be working on a plan to help mitigate the risk for drought in 2025. If you want some insight into your PRF policy, Red Summit Advisors Ranch Pro portal can show you all the details for what a policy would look like on your ranch and customize it to fit whatever your needs are. Learn more at redsummit.com. Now turning to the cattle futures, like I said, October was kind of atypical this year. Usually we'd expect those futures to be moving lower, but both live and feeder cattle moving higher. Live cattle up $2 to $4, whereas the feeder cattle $3 to $7 higher. An impressive month, really getting support from seasonally and historically tight front-end fed cattle supplies. Moving forward, those supplies will remain tight, which does provide fundamental market support, but really I think it's kind of hard to see a lot of additional upside from here, at least into early 2025. Having said that though, cattle feeder leverage will improve over the next month as packers harvest cattle to fill holiday orders. A key factor in the rally was box beef values showing some impressive increases. That could be partially due to packers slowing the processing pace, but really beef demand has been nothing short of impressive here. With a choice cutout over 320, there's incentive to process cattle at a pretty good clip. So with that demand and supply still pointing downwards, cash-fed cattle prices were up. In the last 7 weeks, we've seen about a $10 increase in the cash. We closed October with live cattle averaging $190 and dress sales averaging $299, but as high as $304. Now, the monthly cattle on feed report wasn't as supportive to the market as we'd hoped for. Early expectations were for a friendly report with placements down 4.5% from a year ago, but those actual numbers came in only 2% lower. We knew the risk was present though, as drought conditions have forced a lot of cattle into feedlots early, but that really just creates a placement hole further down the road. Marketings were pretty close to expectations, up 2% from a year ago, which took inventory down just slightly from last year's levels. Now we're going to talk a little about where we're at with potential herd expansion, but first want to have a quick message from the Wyoming Beef Council.
When you look across the table, what do you see? A firefighter? A scientist? An artist? We see hope, dreams, and potential that needs to be nourished. Beef can help, from after-school snacks to balanced meals and everything in between, so that one day, everyone will see what you see. Together, we bring more. Go to beefitswhatsfordinner.com for more recipes to nourish your family.
Well, one question many of us in the industry are asking is, when is expansion and heifer retention really going to take hold? We know that once we start aggressively retaining heifers, that the die is cast and beef production is going to be increasing in the next year or two and prices probably coming down. But as of yet, we really haven't seen a lot of signs of heifer retention. If we go back to placements in feed yards, yes, we are seeing less heifers being placed on feed as related to last year, but still above the 20-year average. So that doesn't really indicate a lot of retention. Another factor we watch is the discount on heifer calves. Of course, heifers sell at a discount to steers due to lower feeding performance and lighter slaughter weights, but the level of that discount can tell us something about retention at the cow-calf level. Thus far, we've kind of seen that heifer discount at about $30 a hundredweight. That's a little bit under last year, but really not giving us a lot of signs that heifer retention is happening, especially in the last few weeks. That discount seems to have widened a little bit. So at this point, it looks like it could still be a few more months until we can really say if we're starting to expand the herd. One thing limiting that could be drought. We've seen conditions worsen across a wide swath of cattle country. As you look at the major beef cow regions, 59% of the cattle are in some type of drought condition right now. A year ago, that was 44%. The Climate Prediction Center is forecasting drought to continue across much of the northern plains and worsen in the south as well. One of the few areas where it's projected to improve over the next 3 months is western Montana and into the PNW. So really, I think that means right now we can't say we're going to expand this herd. We know it's going to be imminent at some point just with where these prices are. Really, from where we're looking at demand like we talked about and then the supply picture, it's putting cow-calf producers in the driver's seat. Could squeeze the segments further up the supply chain, feedlots and especially packers. Packer margins did improve over the last month thanks to box beef prices that were higher, but if we're thinking cattle numbers could decrease into 2026, that's going to put the squeeze on packers, especially as we're talking they won't be able to run these plants at capacity. More expansion is still coming. A lot of small capacity expansion, but a large plant coming online in North Platte, Nebraska in mid-2025. So these margins could stay tight for a while for packers. One other thing I do want to touch on, we know drought has been an issue for a lot of producers this year, but we carried over a lot of hay supplies last year, and we're talking lower hay and corn prices from a year ago, so backgrounding looks like a feasible option. If we consider the March feeder contract at $2.43, that pencils okay today. Last year we saw a $20 rally from November to March in that contract, so could look pretty decent with a little price protection in there. Now we want to dive into those local auction markets, but first a shout out to our friends at Nutrilix. Of course, weaning season is upon us here, and with decreased nutrition on your range, Nutrilix is your answer to fill those nutrient gaps in your dry pastures and homegrown forage by supplementing your herd with a custom program designed to give your cows whole herd health. Get more out of what you already have with Nutrilix Liquid Supplement. Now as we look at these local auction markets, want to start out with the calves. Like I mentioned, usually this time of year we expect prices to move lower. It's just a large volume of calves hitting the market and prices will fall, but that really hasn't been the case this year. We've seen prices steady to higher across most of our auction markets. Anecdotally, I would say it seemed like more light calves this year. I don't remember seeing as many 3-weight calves selling last year, but even they've met some strong demand as wheat grazing prospects in the south are looking pretty strong, so prices pretty well higher across the board. In Riverton, we did see those light 5-weight steers selling $305 to $326, the light 6-weights $261 to $271. Look at Stockman's Livestock in Dickinson. 3-weight steers that topped out at $463, mid to upper 5-weights selling primarily $296 to $310. Now as we look at the cow market, that's where it's been much more predictable. Of course, this time of year we're weaning calves, preg checking cows, a lot of cows are going to town, and prices have fallen. No huge drops, but moving lower. Really though, got to keep it in perspective. We're still talking historically strong prices, and that's really going to help the bottom lines of ranches. Also, take a look at those bred cow prices too. It's too early to really generalize on the market, but those look like strong sales to me. AI bred heifers at the Glasgow stockyards bringing $3,000 and a quarter, and at Torrington Livestock, the young cows $500 a head on the average above last year. Mid-age cows up about $150. Solid mouth bred cows $400 higher. The bred heifers though were down about $75 on the average, but that was a pretty light test. Now we want to wrap up with the sheep market here, but first, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks would like to remind hunters that respecting private landowners and the access they provide is more important than ever. Positive relationships between hunters and landowners impact all recreationists. It's up to us. Respect access, protect the hunt. Now wrapping things up with that sheep market, there's no two ways about it. September was pretty tough on lamb prices, so we're glad that October found a little bit of relief. No runaway gains, but at least we're talking higher prices. At the Newell Sheepyard, 60-pound lamb sold from $211 to $221, 70-pounders $195 to $205, 80-pound lambs $180 to $184, and yearling replacement ewes from $165 to $185 a head. And I just want to mention, since the election is almost here, it's going to be absolutely critical for the U.S. sheep industry. There's an initiative on ballots in Denver that would ban slaughterhouses in the city limits. Well, there's only one slaughterhouse in Denver. That's Superior Farms, the largest lamb processing plant in the nation. And if that initiative passes, it could have huge repercussions for the American sheep industry, particularly for producers in the Northern Plains and Intermountain West. So we'll definitely be watching that election closely. Well, that's going to do it for this month's Livestock Market Report. Thanks much for joining us. You can always find more ag news and market information at northernag.net. Take care.